Shalom. My name is Patricia with YAHWAH Apostolic Ministries. I would like to share with you a Bible study titled Caretakers of God's Temple. Let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 22, verses 3 through 6. It says, "And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails and for the doors of the gates, and for the joinings, and brass in abundance without weight. Also cedar trees in abundance, for the Sidonians and they of Tyre brought much cedar wood to David. And David said, Solomon my son is young and tender, and the house that is to be built for YAHWAH must be exceeding magnifical, of fame and of glory throughout all countries. I would therefore now make preparation for it." So David prepared abundantly before his death. And he called for Solomon his son, and charged him to build an house for YAHWAH Elohim of Israel. We see here that David and Solomon wanted the temple of YAHWAH to be beautiful. Nothing but the best was to be offered for him, the best gold, the best lumber, the best jewels. Israel built a glorious temple for YAHWAH to dwell in. Under the new covenant, YAHWAH no longer dwells in temples made with hands, but now he takes up his residence within us when he fills us with his Spirit. It says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. "Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple ye are." It also states the same principle in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. "What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own? For you were bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." Just as God dictated his plan for the building of the tabernacle and the temple, so he has given explicit instructions for the care and maintenance of his temple, which is our bodies. We have been made custodians of his house, the dwelling place for his Spirit. We are to regard it as sacred trust. God bestowed dignity and honor to the body, for he manifested himself on earth in a human body. He intends for our body to be sacred, a channel of holy things. We experience salvation in the body, and it is his only instrument of expression here on earth. He must use our bodies. It is all he has. We are his hands, we are his feet, we are his voice. Therefore, we must painstakingly make this body the most wonderful, efficient, and valuable instrument for him to use. It is not an optional assignment, as many believers consider it. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 23. "And the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray God your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of our Adonai YAHWAH HaMashiach." Blameless? Do you know what blameless means? Blameless means no fault, no impurities, no imperfections. Then we must learn to care for our body. But how? Through the pages of his word are detailed instructions for maintaining body care. Psalms chapter 107, verse 20. He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. Also in Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 22. My son, attend to my words, incline thy ear unto my sayings. Let them not depart from thine eyes. Keep them in the midst of thine heart. For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. Through ignorance and a lack of knowledge, some well-meaning believers have unconsciously destroyed their temples. Hosea 4 verse 6 says, My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. Consequently, the purpose of this lesson is to inform you on how to become better caretakers of God's temple, which is your body. And it's all in what we eat. There's a famous saying that says, you are what you eat, and that is so true. One quick glance at national statistics quickly tell us that generally Americans are not taking care of their temples. Healthcare costs are already staggering, yet they are increasing. 25 million Americans suffer from high blood pressure. Another 5 million are diabetics. Before age 60, 1 in 3 American men would die from heart disease or stroke. So will 1 in 6 women. Further to be considered is the sum of victims who would suffer from respiratory and digestive disease and disorders. Why all this sickness and poor health? Medical authorities have reported that most medical problems and leading causes of death could be modified by a change in diet. Many of the causes of death, such as kidney disease, heart disease, arthritis, diabetes, and cancer, could be drastically reduced through proper diet. When Moses was chosen to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, YAHWAH had given him a most remarkable medical promise for the new Jewish nation. Let's go to Exodus chapter 15, verse 26. And said, If thou would diligently hearken to the voice of YAHWAH thy God, and would do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am YAHWAH that healeth thee. None of these diseases? What a fantastic promise YAHWAH gave to the new nation, Israel. But why are so many believers today coming down with cancers, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and the list can go on? Is it because we are not obeying his instructions on how to care for his temple or bodies? There is indeed a law of God which he intended to govern our living. The entire universe is governed by law, as is all of life. When we observe these laws, we get definite beneficial results. When we disregard them, we experience harmful consequences. Just why was God's law given to Moses? It tells us why in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 33. You shall walk in all the ways which YAHWAH your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess. Every law of God was intended to set apart his people from all others. God has always been concerned about where, how, and when his people worship, the clothes they wear, the food they eat, their marriage relations, education, work, play, how they spend their money, and how they treat one another. The purpose of the dietary laws was not only to help make the nation of Israel a holy people, but also to govern their eating habits as a protective measure against poor health and disease. YAHWAH has left us detailed instructions on what we should feed this temple to help it operate properly. His instructions are found in Leviticus chapter 11 and also repeated in Deuteronomy chapter 14. We're going to read Leviticus chapter 11, verses 2 through 8. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. We see here, according to the dietary laws that YAHWAH has given us, his instructions, that the clean animals are the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the cow, the steer, buffalo, and there's others listed. In regards to pig, many of our breakfast meats come from pork, sausage, scrapple, bacon, ham, and other products. There is many lunch meats that come from pork products. But YAHWAH never intended for pork products for human consumption. YAHWAH created the pig as scavengers. They are meat-eating animals that clean up anything that is left dead in the fields, thus preventing disease germs from spreading over the earth. But scavengers were never created for human consumption. The law that God gave Moses condemns the eating of pork as being unclean. In its very nature, it is poisonous, diseased, and deadly. Pork is said by many health authorities to be the prime cause of much of our American ill health, causing blood disease, weakness of stomach, tumors, cancers, and other sicknesses. Many believers will never defile God's temple with cigarettes, drugs, or liquor, but they ingest second-hand, disease-laden, infested garbage and still boldly presume they are keeping their temples clean. Let's continue reading in Leviticus chapter 11, because in the same scriptural passage, God instructed Moses concerning edible and non-edible sea creatures. That could be found in Leviticus chapter 11, verses 9 and 10. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that hath not fins and scales in the seas, and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of every living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. Among the fish approved by God's law are the bass, pike, sunfish, perch, salmon, tuna, and many others. The scaleless fish, such as catfish, and all shellfish are explicitly prohibited by YAHWAH's instructions. That includes oyster, clam, lobsters, and shrimp. Why would YAHWAH prohibit us from eating shellfish? Zoologists claim that these sea creatures or lumps of disease-producing filth because of the inadequate organs of excretion. Catfish and shellfish, or the sea scavengers, or the garbage containers of the sea world. Let's continue reading Leviticus chapter 11, verses 13 through 20. And these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, and the ostrich, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cockatoo, and the hawk after his kind, the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swine, and the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Unclean fowl, or birds, are also named in the dietary law: the eagle, the vulture, the raven, the owl, the hawk, the pelican, the swan, the bat, and others. The chicken, turkey, goose, and duck are wholesome for food because of the gizzard that separates and cleanses all matter before it becomes flesh. I would encourage you to continue reading Leviticus chapter 11 for further information on Yahweh's instructions on what we should feed and not feed our temples. Yahweh's instructions also tell us the way our meats are to be prepared. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 23 through 25. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. Thou shalt not eat it. Thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water. Thou shalt not eat it, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of YAHWAH. Also in Leviticus chapter 17, verses 10 through 14. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any matter of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from his people. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no matter of flesh, for the life of all flesh is in the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. This instruction of YAHWAH is not just under the Old Covenant. It is repeated in the New Covenant in Acts chapter 15, verse 29 to the new Gentile believers. That ye abstain from meat offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if ye keep yourselves, ye shall do well, fare ye well. One more scripture, Leviticus chapter 3, verse 17. It shall be a perpetual statute for your generations throughout all your dwellings, that ye eat neither fat nor blood. Based on YAHWAH's instructions, it would be wise to resist eating meats prepared in a rare or a medium rare stage. By eating rare or medium rare beef, you are actually eating the prohibited blood. Also, it would be wise to trim the fat off our meats before cooking to avoid eating the fat. Even though YAHWAH's instructions doesn't mention junk food, sugar, or putting extra salt on our foods, as a good caretaker of God's temple, it would be wise to avoid these things. Let's learn a little bit about sugar. Sugar cannot be classified as a food. At least, white refined sugar is not a food. Refined sugar has no vitamins, no useful minerals, no trace elements, no fiber, no protein, no fat, no benefit whatsoever in the human diet. Sugar has been linked to physical disorders such as obesity, heart disease, digestive disorders, diabetes, hyperactivity, and dental decay. The average consumption of sugar in this country is incredible, about 2 pounds per week, or about 104 pounds of sugar annually. Almost 20% of calories are from sugar added to our foods. Since the 1920s, according to the USDA figures, Americans have greatly increased their sugar intake. Americans have also increased their physical discomfort and disease. The human love for sugar is perhaps nature's way of enticing us to eat sweet, delicious, nutritious fruit. You'll be surprised to discover sugar as a prominent ingredient in a lot of other foods where it doesn't really belong. Enriched white bread typically contains about 10% refined sugar. Canned and dried soups, salad dressing, peanut butter, baby food, pickles, spaghetti sauce, frozen dinners, frozen pizza, gelatin desserts, canned fruits, canned vegetables, ketchup, tomato juice, hot dogs, and other sausages, powdered drinks, and the list can go on. Many popular breakfast cereals are half sugar. Besides water, the main ingredient in most soft drinks is sugar. Consider using honey as an alternative sweetener. Pure and unrefined honey is an excellent sweetener ever since Bible times. Eliminate most sugar from your diet and use sweeteners in their original intent, in very small quantities, as spices and a small amount of flavoring. The first rule of all good nutrition might well be avoid all junk food. Almost all junk food contains empty calories. Before you choose a snack, stop and think about your body, God's temple. Before you indulge in a quick snack, make sure you choose carefully. When it comes to salt, it is important to get enough salt, but the real challenge is keeping ourselves from being pickled by salt abundance. For the average man, the daily requirement of salt is about 200 milligrams, or 1/20th of a teaspoon. Those who gorge on processed food consume about 20 grams, or practically a full ounce daily. Consuming 100 times what your body needs adds up to big trouble. Overdosage of salt also causes hypertension, a contributor to heart disease and migraine headaches and strokes. Too much salt intake results because we shake it on our foods and it is added by food processing plants. A dietary goal would be to reduce our salt consumption at least by 50%. The first step to do this is to avoid shaking salt directly onto our foods. Scientists and nutritionists now verify that the dietary law of Moses contributes to disease prevention through dietary fiber. All fruits and vegetables contain varying amounts of it. However, the average diet fiber content is dangerously low, particularly accounting for many current illnesses and diseases. Fiber intake can be increased by eating more whole grain products, wheat bran, fruits, and vegetables. Here's what you can do to increase your dietary fiber intake. Use whole grain products such as 100% bran cereal, bran flakes, granola cereals, shredded wheat, 100% rolled oats, whole wheat bread and crackers, brown rice instead of white rice, whole grain cornmeal, 100% rye flour, whole grain pretzels, sunflower seeds, toasted soybeans, and toasted wheat. Eat raw, fresh fruits and vegetables, or barely cooked, dried fruits, raisins, and any kind of nuts or popcorn. Avoid the canned varieties of fruits and vegetables. Restrict your consumption of refined sugar, soft drinks, and fats. Reduce your intake of meats. Add unprocessed bran to your present diet. And don't forget to drink water. Water plays a very important part in the human body. Water composes 75% of your brain. It regulates your body temperature. It makes up 83% of your blood, makes up 75% of your muscles. Water helps convert food into energy and removes toxins and waste from the body. Water helps your body absorb nutrients. It helps carry nutrients and oxygen to your cells. And water is known as a natural remedy for headaches. On average, it would be good to consume at least half your body weight in water. In other words, if you weigh 150 pounds, your total water consumption should be 75 ounces. Or you can stick to the rule of 8-ounce glasses a day, equaling 64 ounces or a half gallon of water per day. YAHWAH wants to bless his people with good health. 3 John verse 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. YAHWAH wants to heal his people of sickness and disease. But how can he if we willfully and deliberately obey his instructions on caring for our bodies? If we willfully and deliberately disobey his instructions found in Leviticus chapter 11 of what is clean and not clean to eat, if we flood our bodies with extra sugar, salt, and junk food, we should not be surprised if our bodies develop sicknesses and diseases. YAHWAH has put many natural things here on earth to help our bodies, many herbs and spices. And I would encourage you to research and find out what YAHWAH has put on here on earth to help our bodies and the foods that he designed for our bodies to consume. I want to thank you for watching this video. May YAHWAH bless you and keep you. May YAHWAH make his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you. May YAHWAH lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom.
Shema.